What's going on, Colts Nation? Appreciate you joining me for another video where today I want to talk a little bit about our star running back, Jonathan Taylor, somebody that, as Colts fans, we all love him, right? We don't like the fact that he missed so much time with injuries over the last couple of years. He's currently in the middle of missing some time with injury. Not great. Not what you want to see from somebody that's so prolific when he's on the field, so good. We saw it this year, right? Looks like 2021 Jonathan Taylor all over again, right? Prime Jonathan Taylor was all the way back before he got hurt. And it's just, this video is just looking at how he affects the offense, what it looks like without him. Obviously, Anthony Richardson and him both missing the same games, so a little difficult, but we have just a sample size now, right? A 6-game sample size of different circumstances of how important this man is to what we are trying to do. Now, of course, because Shane Steichen is such a good play caller, such a good play designer, specifically, there are different times in games where we can't get anything to happen, but we end up with, 17-yard run here and there, and it inflates the numbers. So there's a little bit of that we'll look at, but just going through some of these numbers, starting with the Texans game. And in that first game of the season, of course, we didn't have the ball a whole lot. We weren't very efficient. It was just explosive plays. But in this game, Jonathan Taylor, not great. 16 carries, 48 yards, 3 yards per carry. He did have a touchdown. Anthony Richardson, 6 carries for 56 yards for a touchdown. So the duo of those two end up with 22 carries for 104 yards, 4.7 a carry, and 2 touchdowns in that game, right? Which shows when those two are on the field together how dynamic it can be. The offense not running right, but that's what I talk about when we can have a terrible day on offense, still find a way to score 20 points. We had the ball for 20 minutes in this, not even 20 minutes in this game against the Texans. We put up 27 points. So, and still had over 100 yards rushing. So that just shows how capable we are if we can figure it out and be consistent as an offense, right? Then you go to the second game against the Packers, which was a lot of the same. We played terrible. We got dominated in a lot of ways, but when you look at it, 18 total carries, 140 yards, 7.8 yards per carry. Now, Trey Sermon, 2 carries, 0 yards, but Jonathan Taylor had a really good day. We just didn't run enough in that game, which was the point. We didn't have the ball enough in that game. I think we had it for less than 20 minutes in this game as well. But again, Jonathan Taylor, 12 carries, 103, which is where you start to see Jonathan Taylor starting to figure out how to be Jonathan Taylor again. And then you carry that into the next game against the Bears, which is where we really saw JT start to be JT again. 23 carries, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns, had a 29-yard run, which I believe was the touchdown run. One of his touchdowns, and again, 2 touchdowns on that day, 4.8 yards per carry. I mean, what he's able to do, the moves that he's able to make, the way he's able to find the space and get to where other guys can't, to be able to break out big runs. Like, Jonathan Taylor has been unbelievable. And again, in that Bears game, it was all about looking like the old Jonathan Taylor, right? We saw a little bit of it in week 2, but then week 3, it was like, oh, Jonathan Taylor is all the way back, like back, right? As a team, 33 carries, 150 yards, 4.5 yards per carry with 3 rushing touchdowns. Trey Sermon had the other one there against the Bears. Then against the Steelers game, where Anthony Richardson does get hurt early on, when he was 3 for 4 for 71 yards, but Jonathan Taylor, 21 carries, 88 yards, 4.2 yards per carry, and Jonathan Taylor leaves this game early as well. Now, I believe it was in the fourth quarter when he left. I think 8 or 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, maybe a little more. I believe it was the fourth quarter when Jonathan Taylor left, and he already had 21 carries, 88 yards. Would have been over 100 yards. We were leading in that game. We would have leaned on him. He might have ended up with 28 carries for 120 yards, maybe even another touchdown by the end of it. But nonetheless, 4.2 yards per carry. Again, Anthony Richardson, 3 carries, 24 yards. Of course, getting hurt on one of those runs. But again, just shows the dynamic offense and the capabilities that they bring when they're on the field together and what we're able to do, right? You look at the Bears game, Anthony, 8 carries for 24 yards. So not the greatest rushing day there for Anthony. The Bears were all over him right there, but then the Steelers able to find some more space, just unfortunately gets hurt. Now, that's where we've been. You look at the averages as a team. You combine Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor, and of course Trey Sermon has some carries here and there, but week 1, 4.7 yards per carry. Week 2, 4 point, or I'm sorry, that's Green Bay. We had 7.8 yards per carry against Green Bay, and that's with Trey Sermon having 2 carries for 0 yards. We just didn't have the ball enough in that game. We didn't run the ball nearly enough. Anthony threw it 34 times, and I mean, Green Bay had 16 points at the end of the game. We just couldn't get anything going. Just really weird game right there. But then against the Bears, 4.5 yards per carry as a team. Then against the Steelers, 4.2. Steelers are a tough defense, man. 4.2 yards per carry on 32 carries in that game against the Steelers. And then you have Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor not playing in each of the last 2 games, Jaguars, Titans. And let's look at the numbers, right? And don't forget what I told you. Sometimes because Shane Steichen is such a good play designer, because our offensive line is so good, we can bust some out here and there. Trey Sermon ends up with a 17-yard run at some point on his 10 carries. Tyler Goodson also had a 17-yard rush, and Joe Flacco added 21 yards on his run. So of those 3 carries, right, we carried the ball 20 times. Joe Flacco threw the ball a bunch, but when you're talking about the entire team carried the ball 20 times against the Jaguars, 3 of those carries because of Joe Flacco making a miracle happen, really, and being able to get away from guys at his age. But then you also had the 2 17-yard runs by the running backs, and because Shane Steichen and the offensive line are so good, you take those out, right? 20 carries. So instead, we end up with 17. You take out the yardage, we had 99. If you take off the 55 yards, that is 17 carries for 44 yards for the rest of the game. The efficiency for the offense goes way down. Now, I'm taking those out. Of course, those end up counting. We scored 34 points in this game, so can I really be that mad? Yeah, I can. We should have ran the ball more with the efficiency, right? You look at the different guys. Trey Sermon was the worst on the team at 3.8, and he had 10 carries, 38 yards, and a touchdown. Tyler Goodson, 5 for 26 at 5.2. Joe Flacco, 3 for 22. You don't really expect him to do too much, but 7.3 average because of that 21-yard run. Ashton Doolin, 1 carry, 9 yards. A.D. Mitchell, 1 carry, 4 yards. So as a team, you average 5 yards per carry, but again, lifted because of just some one-off plays, right? Of course, that helped us move down the field and helped us get some points on the board, but nonetheless, the efficiency isn't there, and that's the key, right? And that goes into the Joe Flacco, Anthony Richardson argument too. Not that Anthony Richardson is always completely efficient, but nonetheless, with Jonathan Taylor in, the offense is 1,000% more efficient. Okay, because even in a win against Tennessee, you look at what we did on the ground, and this is where the issues that pop up with the offense, without Anthony Richardson, without Jonathan Taylor, the issues that pop up were very evident. Okay. Joe Flacco ends this game 22 for 38, 189. Okay, two touchdowns, but threw an interception. An average of 5 yards per attempt for Joe Flacco in that game. Efficiency, not there, right? Luckily, the defense did great. Will Levis's average was 3.5. But nonetheless, for our purpose and for what the Colts did, when you look at us rushing, we ran the ball 28 times. So brought the balance a little bit back together, but still threw the ball a lot. Ran the ball 28 times. We had 80 rushing yards as a team. 2.9 average, 0 touchdowns. That is, at its fullest, the Jonathan Taylor effect. You can't escape it. Just like you can't escape that Jonathan Taylor continues to deal with these injuries. And of course, for running backs, this is what a lot of running backs deal with, but it's just unfortunate when you see a guy like Derrick Henry, who's so bruising of a back, so big, takes so much content. When people try to hit Derrick Henry, he's getting everybody's biggest shot because he's so big. So he's able to stay on the field a lot. So when I look at Jonathan Taylor, it's like, man, I just wish my guy could stay on the field some more. He's so good. So I wish he was able to stay on the field some more, because it's obvious. We went through all the numbers. It's obvious how the offense is when he's there and when he's not. 2022 was a bad year no matter what for the Colts, but it was made worse because Jonathan Taylor missed pretty much all of it. So getting Anthony Richardson back, getting Jonathan Taylor back, having both of them come back is going to make us so much more dynamic in what we're able to do and how we can attack teams. Now, hopefully we see Jonathan Taylor come back. He did not practice here on Wednesday. I'm recording this video on Wednesday. Don't know if I'm releasing it on Wednesday or Thursday, but by the time you're seeing this, hey, maybe Jonathan Taylor has ended up practicing. Maybe that news has come out. I hope so. But so far, only Anthony Richardson is back. We need both of these guys to come back. Jonathan Taylor is so important to this team. And this is where I want to know your opinion on all of this. You let me know down in the comment section how you feel about JT. How do you feel about the run game without JT and what we did, right? Did Chris Ballard make a mistake by not getting running backs in the offseason? Or is he right to just, hey, we paid Jonathan Taylor. We're supposed to be leaning on Jonathan Taylor. You let me know what your opinion is of all this down in the comment section, however you feel. I'd love to know. And of course, as I sit here and I hang out, I'll go through those comments later. But make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have notifications on so you get notified anytime we have any more content coming out on this channel. I have plenty more ideas. Glad to be back making content for you guys. So again, have those notifications turned on so you get notified anytime we drop content. And of course, I appreciate you stopping by for another video. As always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.